Welcome back to Be Fair, take 2. Take 1 was probably ruined for a good reason with a phone call.
Let's just move on. Yep.
Exactly. We had fun doing the first one. It was a bit all over the place, so we thought we'd do another one for our 5 subscribers. Hopefully 10 by this comes out. So yeah, I think we should introduce our names.
Yeah.
Because I realised, and also someone pointed out to me, that we kind of just went on
Straight into it.
Yeah, it kind of ties in with our topic, I think. So do you want to introduce your name or talk about the topic first?
Well, I am Sanket. My pronouns are he, him.
Mm-hmm.
Sanket. And I think that's what we'll talk about, but let's just... Yeah.
So my name is not Amay, but A-M, like U-I, basically, how you pronounce it. So, Amay? It's hard to say it now.
God, I'm just even confused following that.
Amay?
Yeah.
Yeah, A-M-U-Y is, I guess, how you'd say it. But our anglicised names are different because we've grown up with Sanket.
Yeah, Sanket and
that's
Amay?
Amay, yeah.
Amay.
Yeah, it's
Sanket
hard to say it.
Yeah.
Which, ties in with our topic, I think, today.
Yeah. Which is...
Brown identity.
The brown identity.
Originally going to call it something else, but we thought we'd encapsulate all the Browns.
Yeah, because I think all the Browns have a very similar lived experience.
Yeah, we do. Especially like the ones living abroad.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's what we mean when we say brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's taken a long time for me to come to terms with Sanket and actually saying it properly.
Yeah, so when you like go out, now we can't, but like when you meet people, how do you say it? Or is that still a bit up
Well, that's the thing. It's sometimes I, depending on the situation, sometimes just avoid saying my name best I can.
Really?
That was up until maybe even last year. And then I finally have come to the place where I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
Shit.
This is my name, Sanket.
Yeah.
And I think I was avoiding it because I hated having to say Sanket. Because, that's not my name. And
you
so
felt like it felt wrong.
It felt wrong.
Oh.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah, I actually never I've gotten to that stage of like worrying about how my name sounds. Just because I was so used to my name, how it sounded. Because I assume at home, I was at home where we were born as Sanket Amay. And maybe kindergarten is when it started to change. It was like because the people here would have said it differently. White people. We're not going to bash them as much as we did last time.
But
I think it's just maybe it's the accent.
But that's the thing, and I think a lot of the times other brown people sometimes bash other brown people that accept the anglicised name. And there's even comedy clips of
Really?
Oh, Sanjay, not Sanjay. But I think it's difficult when every time you say your name the other party is just struggling and they make it a huge thing, and it's like, oh, Sanket?
Your name's easy.
Sanket?
Really?
And it's
Sanket.
is this? Well, I don't think white's hard.
It's not hard.
Yeah, and it's very selective, which is a different topic in itself.
Okay.
What white people can and cannot say and choose to say.
That is actually a good point. That is, I mean, first of all, Sanket, Amay. Have you heard of the name like Siobhan, but it's spelled S-I-O?
All the Irish names.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We're expected to say that normally, right? Because they get annoyed.
I don't even want to say it because I'm going to butcher it, but
go for
like the charcuterie boards or the cheese and meat boards.
The charcuteries.
That's whatever I could say.
I don't know if that's it.
But it's such an easy thing to say for white people.
Yeah.
But Sanket and Amay is somewhat difficult.
Yeah, there's like a definite pause, but I think some of the pauses, maybe nowadays, is more like they don't want to offend you by, I want to make sure. I think they do it a lot now because they've realised with the whole, we talked about last time as well, like coming over to the East, they're trying not to offend you and trying to get it right so they don't, screw it up and they want to see.
Which I can respect. I love when people are like...
If that's the reasoning.
But even when it's not, I just love when people actually check in with you and say, wait, so how do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing, but...
Means a lot.
It tells you so much about that person. That they can understand that it's important. It's someone's identity. That this is what they would like to be called.
Exactly.
I mean, most times I'm kind of like, it's fine, call me whatever, but my name is Sanket.
Yeah.
Because it's been conditioned. Apparently, it's hard to say.
This is weird. This is the first time I've realised it's not a hard name. it's like if you want to break it up, it's Sanket.
It's just,
Like, it's not that
it's
hard, is
difficult. Well, it's like all names, isn't it? Like Ashwin and like
Yeah, Ashwin.
yeah.
But I think that's like a dialect thing as well.
of course.
But if you introduce yourself as like you said, because we never introduce ourselves in our home Indian names, I guess was
I
the
think-
word, the normal.
But I think it had to start from someone. I think we probably started saying the normal way, but it just became a struggle where people, oh, well, how do you say, and they'd forget it. And so it's just an easy way when you introduce yourself as Sanket, people seem to remember it. People seem to find it easier to remember, and it just became
yeah, a thing.
that's the way.
But you said you've changed it like over a year,
Yeah.
so you're like trying to use your
Trying
own.
to come back to, like we said, decolonizing ourselves
Mm.
and stepping away from the anglicized white assimilated versions of ourselves, which isn't a bad thing, but I think we need to also be accepting of our own culture.
Yeah, and I think I fall foul of that because I haven't said my name, am I, to anyone. Maybe to like people at work who were like brown descent, who were like, wait, am I, like, how do you actually say it? And I'm like, oh, like just imagine a you instead. Yeah, am I?
But I think sometimes it's because it's just happened for so long in your life that that's become your identity and your name now. It's Amay.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
with that is everything else that comes with the assimilation and, becoming Australian.
The
and
accent that we talked about on the
We
walk.
talked about the accent.
The accent. I don't, only brown people will get this. Maybe other cultures, I'm not sure. But we have two accents. This is one, and then one's at home, which I can't do for you now because
No.
it's literally impossible to
Yeah.
try and do it outside of home. But it's
Yeah.
talking English, but it's like a almost like curry accent.
Yeah, I don't even...
It seems more. I just call it the home voice and the outside voice. And when I realized it was a problem when I started having friends over who weren't you, because we used to like have sleepovers every weekend. So
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be us two. But then when I brought like white people over and it's like talking to them and then talking to your parents in the same like room, different accents.
Oh, for sure.
And I just thought it was like a thing, It was like a thing we had to do. But we talked about it on the walk a bit. We're like, oh, it's so ingrained. That
It's crazy. And that I was telling you, I just speak Gujarati to mum and dad. So
Which is
it's
smart.
a bit different. But even when I speak to my sister, who's also, the same sort of experience, but some reason the kind of bit of a tinge of,
Yeah, same with my sister. I
Yeah,
talk with that home
yeah.
accent.
But, and like I was telling you, I think this is my real accent though. When I'm alone with no one around me, this is how I talk to myself. So it's weird how it even ties into kind of the subconscious and, without
Yeah.
even understanding what's going on.
And I think a lot of people would have it. Like, if anything, I applaud the people who are like our age who seem to have the same voice at home and out. I don't know how you've done that.
But also, I think, at least where I'm at in this time, I think the biggest thing is, like I was saying last time, there's no answer. And I think a lot of the times, brown people that are really in tune with their culture will sometimes bash on the assimilated brown people that are very white and, make fun of them or joke about them. And then,
Coconuts and
yeah,
stuff
it
like
might
that.
be another,
Yeah.
the opposite where in, a very assimilated Australian Indian or
Yeah.
brown person might then be like, oh, that fob and this person. But I think we need to see less of that. And we need to see more of the brown collective, which is so rich and diverse, bring each other up as opposed to being like, oh, this person, that, and oh, that brown person. I think there's enough of that from white people, which has led to this kind of identity crisis.
See.
Mm,
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
in my opinion.
Yeah, of course, this is your opinion. It's not a fact. We're talking in a fucking car. Like, it's not...
A lot of what I do say is fact, really. But
okay. It's the first joke I think you cracked on this. That's a very good... Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. There's always going to be... Yeah, it's a bit of a divide. I think it does change, I think. I don't know, I feel like not just us who are like going back to... We talk about like going back to our roots with like a lot of the things we were doing. Like with what we talked about, like me and you trying to understand more about our religion or religion in general, something that we've grown up with. Whereas maybe in high school I kind of shunted it.
oh, for sure.
Yeah, you did the same. Because it's like, I don't know, if I was trying to fit in, obviously at school. And like, a good example actually, like funny I have it, is this everyone knows what this is, like a Rakhi, like your sister ties. This is usually in August, right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
a couple months
August,
ago.
yeah. And during school time, I put it on the Saturday, Sunday, we did it, and took it off on Monday because I'm like, oh shit, we'll put it in the same school. As soon as I left school, this just goes on until it falls off, basically.
Sure. And that's why I say that brown people shouldn't bash brown people that, did that, because it's not a choice that you actually had. It's because you wanted to avoid, whether it's being picked on or, talked about, or the discrimination or exclusion, or all you do as a child is you wanted to fit in and, avoid anything that would make you, I guess, uncool.
Outcast.
Or, for sure.
And I hope now that in schools it's different. It seems like it's different from the outside. I mean, I don't know any
you don't really
kids
know,
apart from cousins, but I don't really talk to them about this. I hope it's different now, where they can bring in their teplers and more people would just be like, oh, what's that? In an inquisitive way instead of, ew, what's that?
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not saying everyone did this in school. I think we need to clarify. It's just, it was some people. But
also,
I think the fear of some people.
But I think we need to also differentiate explicit versus implicit. I think, there's explicit outward displays of, racist remarks or whatever it might be, but there's very much still an implicit kind of everyday, subtle...
casual racism.
Casual racism, but even within teachers or other students that, it might not be this person saying a racist thing. It's still in the way that they behave can still make you feel ostracized or excluded or, different, or the person in the out group.
Yeah, of course. And that's the hardest one to control or to stop. And it happens happens with me sometimes as well. With anyone, I think it's... Yeah, it's hard because you've grown up, I think, and you assume things, and it's hard to get rid of that assumption. So you're not trying to be outwardly like, oh, that's bad. But you assume, as soon as someone walks in, you're like, yes, okay, I know 50% about you, which is not true. But I mean, that happens everyday life. That's a hard thing to control.
And it's also, I mean, me personally, I've always, at least growing up, found it very difficult to know where to fit in. In that, in my first primary school before I came to the one that we both went to.
Right, yeah.
I think me and my sister were the only people of colour.
That's
and
normal
then,
back then. Yeah.
obviously, I went to high school before my cultured high school, but that high school, I think I could literally count the brown people in one hand.
Yeah. Yes.
And then it's kind of like, all right, where is my group? Because obviously there's a big proportion of white people that see you from afar because the color of your skin and treat you differently, and then on TV there's no brown representation that you can at least relate to.
Not
Bollywood. Yeah, Bollywood's well, that's not something I relate to.
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah, Apu's just
he was the only Indian,
and that's the only Indian representation or brown representation that white people had as well, which is why I think there was still that a lot of those jokes and a lot of those. And I'm just another random shower thought, but I found that, you see TV and you see the white people and you know that these are the people that are being racist towards me, that are being discriminatory, and so I don't relate to them. And there's no brown representation that you can relate to, or you feel, this person understands me or represents me. So I feel like a lot of brown people in our generation kind of naturally drift towards black culture. And,
very good point.
We see hip-hop and we see how they were shunned.
Yeah.
And that culture of, us against the oppressor. And we kind of fall towards that culture and that music. And then,
nailed it.
We slowly have a bit of a thing in our walk or the way we talk or, use it. And it's just...
Yeah.
Then we get, oh, why are you trying to act black?
Yeah.
You're Indian.
Yeah.
It's just... You can't really win. And I think that encapsulates the brown identity in that we don't really have somewhere to fit in, and we're just trying to understand ourselves and kind of what is this brown identity, which is why I think when we're walking it's it's not an Indian identity, but it's
exactly, that's
brown, because
exactly,
it's such an easy marker for people to be like, oh, a brown person, and I know for a fact that they have gonna have experienced something similar to what we have. It's inevitable. You can't not be in Australia and have experienced something incredibly, completely different to what we've experienced.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm.
If anything, probably could get worse the
Of
further out
course,
you go.
of course.
Like other regions, yeah. That's a very good point you just raised about the gravitating towards black
Yeah,
culture. Yeah, music.
for
Man,
sure.
my first illegal downloading was all hip hop.
Mm.
Even now, I guess now it's different because everyone listens to like music by everyone. But
Yeah.
like back then, it was just T-Pain,
Oh, for sure.
Lil Wayne. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
I
It gravitated towards it.
I remember a year 7 assignment,
Mm.
and you had to talk about, what you want from life and what you want to be.
Wow.
And
you remember?
little 13-year-old me
Mm.
kind of, I remember it because it was traumatic, and I
Oh.
think it's just a small thing, but it dictated the rest of, I
Yeah.
kind of went into the presentation and was talking about, this was when Legally Blonde was out, and it was like,
Oh, yeah.
lawyers, and that was like a cool thing. So I'm like, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up, and that, or
Wow.
I want to be a rapper. And since
Very brave to say, by the way, in year 7.
God, since I
very brave.
said that, it was just downhill. Like, people would just be like,
Really?
oh, you're not black, this, that, the other. I remember one guy, Seb, if you're watching, come see me. He came up to
Wow.
me, he's like,
Yeah.
you can't be a rapper,
Yeah.
you're Indian.
Yeah.
And then I think that really dictated my understanding of what it means to be
Wow.
Indian, or, what, oh, right, okay, I'm
I'm not allowed.
confined to this.
Man,
and-
that is
Yeah.
that is fucking horrible. Seb, come see me too. That's fucking
Oh, mate.
disgusting. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
wish Seb would come see me.
Fucking hell.
Come see me, Seb.
He's serious. I mean, don't come see me, Seb. I'm very weak.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Wow. That's.
And that's what
I'm gonna say that's unique, but there's probably a million stories like that out there. But that's very. So then you're saying like that. I assume that few weeks would have been pretty bad.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was just a very eye-opening experience of me then coming to terms with, okay.
But did you realize that at 13 that you had to come to
Oh,
terms with it,
no.
or were you just like, I'm never going to touch it
No,
again?
not at
You
all.
didn't
This
know
is
why?
this is from years of introspection
Yeah, I
and
would say.
therapy and just sitting with myself.
Jesus.
But
Oh, self.
I just understood like
cost-effective.
that's such a important period and aspect that happened, and I'm coming to terms like that's what's kind of made me go in the path of like, oh, okay, I can't be too black, and
Wow.
I can't be this too white. But then obviously, like we said, the Indian Bollywood stuff is not relatable, and so it's just how do you fit in? What are you supposed to say or do, or
And that's taking it back to your original point, was what you started with. I don't know where I fit in. Yeah. I feel like, especially with like, it's a hard one because when we are here, it's like, oh, you're Indian. When we go back to India, I'm not Indian.
no.
I asked my cousin actually, like, how he knew. He lives there, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, how do you like, guys? Because like apparently we'd come into the village and people are like, oh, they're already here. I'm like, how did everyone know? He's like, oh, it's the way you walk.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? It's like it's the way you walk. They can just tell straight away. It's like you're looking around everywhere. It's like they can tell you're a tourist, even though they're literally same
Yeah.
like family, skin color's the same,
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy.
So that idea, I don't think that's sadly ever gonna change.
No, but
you're
I
never gonna belong to there,
Yeah.
and you're never gonna belong to here.
But we do, I think. I think where we belong is this.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It'll just be this mix.
Well,
That'll be
yeah.
us.
Well, just
that
this
middle.
brown group of people that are in that same place where they're
Yeah.
like, I can't fit in there.
Yeah.
I don't fit in here.
Mm.
But I fit in with these people that have the same experience of, this identity crisis
Yeah.
per se, or
Absolutely, and you'll have that. You've probably done that subconsciously with the friends you've chosen. I mean, we're out of school a long time now, and uni a while, but like the friends you've chosen and ones you've stayed with longest, for me, have just been like the people who've had very similar experiences. And that happens. People you end up with at the end, it'll be very similar because it's how you fit in. But there are a lot of people like us who would, like you said, fully assimilate to like being Australian. And someone asked me like, "What are you?" I always used to say like, well, "I'm Australian with Indian heritage."
See, I would always say I'm Australian until people say, no, but where are you from?
Well, that was the best
And
question.
then, and then
You're right.
It's the same thing when someone asks you, how do you want me to say it, versus when people, say something like
Well,
that.
where are you
just,
actually from?
you understand. Oh, no, but like your parents.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I
Okay.
used to do call center jobs, so trust me, I get that.
Yeah.
But you sound Australian with that accent.
Yeah, it's just-
What's your name again? You can't have that name.
Is this, and it's such a, and again, this is not to bash a single white
I'm not
person,
bashing them. I'm just saying
but
this.
more as a collective.
It's
But,
environment.
and I think that's what also led. Again, this is a lot of
Bring it out. Is it Seb again? You
no,
fuck.
but this I
Oh,
think
okay.
a lot of reasons why I stopped playing cricket as well.
I was
because-
yeah, sorry.
No, but just because cricket was, if you're brown and play cricket, it's like, oh, cricket. But if you're white and play cricket, it's like, oh, cool. Like, are you in the A's? What's happening? And it was such
Okay.
a hard thing to tackle where I'm just like, I don't want to play cricket, and I stopped,
Wow.
and I regret it so much.
Yeah, because you could be in the same team, man. I'm still playing, by the way, which is very interesting that you mentioned that, because I don't find that at all at the moment.
Yeah,
That
well, I
whole
guess
thing, maybe
yeah.
back then.
Back then, for sure.
Because I was the only brown until you. Oh, there's one other guy, but until you joined the team, like it was just me in that team, playing cricket with
Yeah.
everyone in Australia, basically. It is different now. I can tell you, as playing is like in the seniors. So we play teams sometimes who are full, like they play in a certain suburb,
Yeah.
and they're all
Full-
from
yeah,
that
of
area.
course, yeah, of course.
And you have teams who we play at different suburbs who are like all Italian.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a long time since, but that's really sad. That
Yeah.
you get to give up
That was
a
what,
rap career and now
oh,
cricket.
man,
You could have been the
imagine-
coolest
Imagine
cricketer / rapper. You could have
Oh.
like hit a six, got on the halftime entertainment, come back
talk
in.
about hitting a six.
And so next time I'm gonna fucking smash you, and it's like, oh, he's not gonna do it.
nah, but
That's really
it's just
sad.
interesting. Like,
But do you feel like it's just part of growing up here? Like you had to go through that experience?
oh, you can't not though.
Hmm.
Which is why I think when I see a brown person, I just know, I might not agree with this or that or, whatever else might be, but I know that
There's a
they have,
connection.
there's going to be some sort of, okay, they get it. They understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like
They
that
understand.
subconscious thing. They know. You won't have to explain a lot to them. Like they know a lot already.
Exactly.
Which is why I say I think it helps with like the friends you have, and somehow they just end up being very
That
similar.
being said, like 2 of my best mates are white that have no, I guess,
Wow.
and even one of them, he is still very, he's very unsure about racism in Australia. He's like, nah, there's no racism. And in his little bubble, I'm sure there's not, because he's probably been raised right, whatever else might be. I'm his mate, but
Which
you
cuts
know,
a lot out.
but
I
you know, so in his head, and I imagine a lot of other white people, there's like, oh, Australia's not racist. Oh, there's no racism. What are you talking about?
That's
but
BS. Sorry.
it's
you're
no,
fine.
but I think it's just
And not bad racism.
mm,
Well, sorry, like what's the word? Active, like full on. There are some parts, but I have friends who are white, and we've noticed in school as well. But yeah, that's
I think that's why intersectionality is very important. I think
what is that?
if a person of color tells you their lived experience, and you are not a person of color, your role is to listen.
I can't interject.
It's not to, oh, this, that, the other. It's to listen to their experience, because you will never experience something that they've experienced. And I guess the same goes with like women. When they say this, that, the other, we can say, oh, try and rationalize it, but at the end of the day, we will never understand what it feels like to be a woman.
No.
And so I think that intersectionality of
versa.
lived experience is important. And so when a brown person tells you that Australia is racist, you don't talk about,
Yeah, that's
oh,
yeah. I see what you mean.
no, Australia is racist, and you can ask any brown person you know, and they will say similar
Yeah,
things.
or any other like person of color.
Or of different heritage. At
Yeah,
that
you don't
point.
even need to
Yeah.
be brown. Like, yeah, that's a really
So
good
identity.
point. Yeah.
So what's
Going
the
back onto
what's the
it.
overall? I guess what are we, and how do we navigate
Wow. That's a tough
the
question.
brown identity?
I think we kind of touched on it about. I think the brown identity for me and probably for us is like what I said. We don't belong in India, and we don't. If you type in Australian, you don't come up with us. You know what I mean? Like picture of us, but it's like somewhere in that middle, where. And I think it varies with age as well. Like we had in high school, we were probably shunning a lot of our, I'll say brown person like culture. just our everything away so we could fit it in high school, which was predominantly, well, it's Australian, so it's
Yeah,
like
of
it's
course,
probably
yeah.
white and whatever. So I think tried to coming around more to. So it's like trying to find that middle ground of I have a similar experience to another brown person,
For
but it's
sure.
tough to quantify in words for me. You can give it a go in a second.
No, I mean,
Like what the topic of this episode is, brown identity. What does that actually mean?
I think, again, I'm going to be a bit wish-washy, but I think
was
it
I.
means whatever you want it to mean for you. Because I think that's exactly what it is. It's a very personal thing that you can't fit into any box. But, you know, I think as a collective, we're going to have very similar shared experiences. And I think it's just important to, whether or not anyone listens to this or listens to any of the other, like, 100 podcasts by brown people
They
or,
will.
you know, whatever else it might be, I think it's important to have brown representation and voices.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to move forward. Because like we said, when we were growing up, literally nothing. And then
Can't think of
only like a couple of years ago did we start seeing, you know, Waleed Ali.
Yeah.
And
then
even
the American
him, like,
guy,
I don't
know his name.
I don't, you know, he doesn't represent brown people, Waleed Ali.
No,
He's,
it's very hard for one person to do it.
no,
anyway.
but, and also, you know, the only people that are going to be on mainstream TV are the people that have been hand-selected by other white people that
that's
will
exactly.
appease the white audience.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's not his fault, but
No.
even now, there's not really any brown representation that we can actually hold on to. So,
Yeah, in Australia, not much. I'm gonna say other countries probably. I think America.
I think it's a very different.
America has a few.
Because I imagine UK, for example, that's
Yeah,
a completely
that-
different experience. You know,
yeah,
I think
you're right.
this is very contextual to Australia, but
Maybe we should call it the Australian brown identity then,
Mm.
because this I think might vary a little bit. But you're right. There's well, that's pretty much our take on brown identity. We try to
Yeah.
keep it a bit shorter this time.
Yeah.
We could have kept waffling on.
we could have. And there's no answer. I think it's more just to
No.
kind of
You're right.
make some talking points and
Mhm.
hopefully start some sort of discussion,
Exactly.
whether it's down in the comments
Nice.
or just with your sibling or your friends. Just you
Yeah.
know,
Start talking.
start a conversation.
It's easy. It's you find it quite surprised at how easily you can start talking about this, even if it's just two people in a car. Like you'll ramble on and on if you actually get into it. So yeah, thanks for. I think that's all good.
I think
Anything else
so.
you want to add?
Just remember to ring the bell and do all that other good stuff that
Yeah.
you need to do for.
Leave a comment.
However
Don't
this
email.
works.
I don't know why I put email in. I'll
No.
change that. No one emails anymore. And
yeah.
yeah, we've been To Be Fair. See you later. Bye.
Come at me, Seb.